'Twas the night before Mastchris, and all through the ship, all the brigands were jiving in a manner most hip. Jolly Mastchris Eve to you all, dear listeners, and a yo-ho-ho. I hope you're all stocked up on rum and firelighters, and that you've all been well-behaved, little urchins, for the last 6 months, lest ye incur the wrath of Captain Mastchris. Now, of course, most of you listeners will know and love Mastchris already. It's the sunny summertime celebration, suffused with barbecues, sunbathing, sugary cocktails, and laid-back acoustic beach anthems that all sound exactly the same as each other. Oh, Mastchris girl, you're my Mastchris world. Won't you spend Mastchris with me? But before we get carried away with the festivities, we don't want to leave anybody behind. Some small number of you out there might be thinking, hang on, what is Mastchris? What's this shabby loser talking about? And wow, thanks a lot, shabby loser indeed. But the question itself is not an unreasonable one. You see, while Mastchris is widely celebrated in most parts of the world, for some reason it is not known at all in some specific regions, including Liechtenstein, the Maldives, San Marino, Laos, and China. Now, you might be thinking, who cares about them? I wasn't thinking about them at all until you mentioned them just now, and I want to stop thinking about them immediately, so go get me a rum punch, you creep. But I say, creep now, is it? Your manners really leave something to be desired. And also, no. Thanks to the data collected and compiled by the little robots that run up and down the phone line, I know that there are listeners tuning into this show from all over the world. And while I'm slightly confused as to why one person in Grenada is listening to the show, hello Malcolm, I say come one, come all. You're all welcome, and I shan't let any of you feel left out. For that reason, I thought it might be a nice idea if I used this episode to present a brief guide to the true meaning of Mastchris. The true meaning of Mastchris. As most of us know, Mastchris falls at the exact midpoint between Christmases on the 25th of June every year. Just like the similarly popular Christmas, it's bookended by some related public holidays, with Mastchris Eve on the 24th of June, which is today if you're listening to this today, and Fat Stephen's Rest on the 26th. The days leading up to Mastchris Eve are spent preparing, making paper palm fronds and lei garlands to decorate your home, filling the fridge with meat and fish and crustaceans for the barbecue, and replenishing your rum supplies. Then, on Mastchris Eve itself, the task at hand is, let's all say it together, getting into a real good chill. That's right, putting your feet up, clearing your thoughts, maxing and indeed relaxing. Most people like to do this with a light tipple and a comfy chair, though some others like to employ a little extra medicinal assistance. Like Valium. But whatever your method, the point is to enter a state of total relaxation. To shed all your worries about work and money and your personal relationships and focus solely on getting well and truly flat out immobile. Letting the evening drift by on a cool breeze. No fear, no judgment. Just letting the world be what it is, and watching the clouds float by. While you can. Because that night, as balmy blue skies turn to tropical torrents, the most feared buccaneer in history sails across the nightways in his sky ship, the Angry Maiden, ably assisted by his demon crew of damned elf brigands, those far too naughty for the North Pole. With his trademark eye patch, fork hand, and enormous admiral's hat with a skull and crossbones on it, he smells the stink of inconsiderate behaviour on the breeze and leads his cursed crew in hot pursuit, raiding the homes of all bad children, except for those in certain regions including Liechtenstein, the Maldives, San Marino, Laos, and China. He is, of course, the dreaded Captain Mastchris. Yo-ho-ho! Captain Mastchris's midnight raid is the defining event in the mythology of Mastchris. 6 months before, in the weeks leading up to Christmas, also known as Mastchris in December, children are bribed into behaving well with the promise of presents. If you've been kind and polite and not asked for too many helpings of shepherd's pie at your supper, you will wake up on Christmas morn to an embarrassment of plastic fire engines, top-of-the-line video game consoles, and non-fungible JPEGs of astonishingly badly drawn cartoons. But you might well have wondered to yourself, what's to stop those kids going right back to acting like horrible little shits as usual right after they've received their scarcely earned rewards? Captain Mastchris. That's who. The legend tells that on the night before Mastchris Day, Mastchris sniffs out all the ill-behaved little children who've gone back to their old mischievous ways, sky sails to their houses, smashes in their windows and steals all the presents they received only 6 months earlier. Then he runs them through with his cutlass, along with their entire families and any pets who happen to be nearby, and gets his demon elves to drag them all down to hell. Opinions vary on the morality of this fable. Some say that the threat of Mastchris's blade teaches us that it's not enough to merely demonstrate virtue when the spotlight is on us. We must live up to the values we claim to hold, even when it's difficult and we don't think we're being observed. Others would say that the story is designed to prevent children from transgressing the boundaries of their perceived social roles with the threat of death and mutilation, and that this message is so damaging and poisonous that it's tantamount to child abuse. Then there's the largest group of all, those who don't think about it very much and are just glad of a day off. There are, of course, also many regional variations on this myth. In the United States, Captain Mastchris is known more commonly as Barco Topher, or informally as Billy Barnacle, and his metal hand is a spork rather than a fork. In Germany, he's known as Herr Dämonenpirat, and he rides a hammerhead shark. In the Netherlands, he's known as Blauwballen, and the details of his legend are too disgusting to repeat here. But wherever you live, and whichever version of the story you prefer, if dreadful old Saint Chris and the crew of the Angry Maiden pass over your house and leave it unmolested till morning, then yo-ho-ho and several bottles of rum. It's Mastchris Day.
Joy to the world, it's Mastchris Day. Someone get me a cocktail.
Slap on the sun cream, stoke up the barbecue and take the pirate-proof boards off the windows. It's time for fun in the sun. Lay out some deck chairs or towels in the garden, or if you live in a complex of flats or apartments, on the balcony or in the car park. Or if you don't have either of those, lean out of the window. But be careful you don't fall out. That wouldn't be very festive now, would it?
Ah! Throw me down a chicken wing!
For food, some people like to go the whole hog for Mastchris, which is to say, dig a huge pit in your garden, build a mighty fire in it, lay a metal grill over the top, and slow roast a whole hog, which is to say, an entire adult pig. Unless, of course, you're vegetarian or vegan or you keep kosher or halal, in which case you'll substitute the pig for a Mastchris log, a 45-kilogram sausage made of cornmeal and assorted pulses, about the size of a healthy Alsatian. I like mine well done. Generally, you'll have to roast your hog or your log for about 12 hours until tender, so you'll want to be breaking ground on your fire pit at about 5 a.m. for a prompt 7 p.m. dinner. Make sure that pit's 2 feet deep, but no deeper, otherwise folklore warns that Satan will be able to reach up from hell and snatch your barbecue dinner for himself.
Yum, yum.
Build your kindling with twigs, leaves and old newspapers and get the fire going with a big glug of petrol. After that, the process couldn't be easier. Simply lay your hog or log on the grill, remembering to turn it halfway through cooking at about lunchtime and spray it all over with cooking fat every 10 minutes and hey presto, it's your very own Mastchris barbecue feast. Feeds approximately 70. Don't forget to stock up on floury baps and paper napkins for guests. Warning, if you're using this cooking method, be aware that it has been shown to cause cancer in 68% of cases, cause scurvy in 29% of cases, and there's a 99% chance your lawn will be a write-off for keeps. Alternatively, if you feel that the full Mastchris hog is, as Gordon Ramsay famously said, too much fucking effort, you could simply throw a couple of burgers on a freestanding charcoal barbecue, or just do what everybody does for Mastchris and order a Chinese. But you'll need something to wash down that chow mein and/or carcinogenic charred pork. Naturally, a spiced rum is the seasonal drink of choice for a summery tropical buzz, but what about those of you who don't drink alcohol? Well, firstly, how do you cope? Secondly, perhaps it's time you tried another long-standing Mastchris treat. Peel nog. While the boozers are blending up those daiquiris, don't let those banana skins go to waste. Puree all your leftover banana peels, season with a generous squirt of mayonnaise, and a modest pinch of nutmeg for a refreshing and challenging beverage that's guaranteed to help move that corn log through your system. Or if that's too adventurous, why not try a nog-nog? Simply put some freshly grated nutmeg in your mouth. Then, when everybody's had their fill of pig and rum and peel and had a lemon for the scurvy, everybody sits around feeling too full and too pissed and watches Muppet Treasure Island. When a warm wind blows, it heats you really nice.
But there's nothing in nature that gladdens your heart like smuggling liquor and spice.
Personally, this is when I like to end my Mastchris day, by passing out in front of the television around the point in the second act when Kevin Bishop's voice breaks. I never knew my father, Mr. Silver. But if you've still got some gas in your tank, you can fill your evening with some traditional Mastchris parlour games, like Keelhaul the Mutineer, Pin the Tail on the Demon Elf, and What Does This Hot Dog Look Like? Those ought to wear you out nice and proper, and before long the big orange sun will meet the horizon at about 11 p.m, and it'll be time to say good night to another successful Mastchris day. The next day, the 26th of June, is Fat Stephen's Rest, and it begins with the ceremonial dropping of the anchor, putting 2 Alka-Seltzers in a glass of water. Fat Stephen's Rest has far fewer rituals, games and activities associated with it, but you'll most frequently find people observing the usual pastimes of groaning, clutching their heads, clutching their stomachs, and standing up then immediately sitting back down again. Or maybe you could keep the party going and whip up another batch of peel nog. And that sound, that aching plea for mercy, that groan that can only be made by someone who knows that their agony is entirely their own doing. That, dear listeners, is the true meaning of Mastchris. The true meaning of Mastchris. And there you have it. Now, if you're listening in Liechtenstein, the Maldives, San Marino, Laos, or China, you can throw your very own Mastchris celebration using this comprehensive guide to all the folklore and customs and cuisine that the rest of us all know so well. Except in the southern hemisphere, where it's winter in June, and they do this really weird Mastchris with snow and pine trees and hot chocolate, but that's not proper Mastchris. That's just rubbish. But even you, yes, you weird southern hemisphere Mastchris observers with your woolen hats and port and snowmen, I hope that even you have a wonderful Mastchris season and a furry-mouthed Fat Stephen's Rest. In fact, jolly Mastchris, heureux et nol, allegre dadinav, and lustig Nachtweiten to all my listeners worldwide, from me and a few of my very good friends.
Greetings, this is Sir Chantley Buffingham. Jolly Mastchris and a big sweaty hog to you all.
Hey asshole, it's Mike Shinbone from Shinbone Entrepreneurials. Hope you have a good Mastchris and Barco Topher and his elf guys don't cut you up and whatnot.
Hello, my name is Wingnut. I hope you have a jolly Mastchris and that you can lie down peacefully all day on Fat Stephen's Rest like my daddy does, and that the gas man doesn't come around unexpectedly and make you swear like my daddy does.
This is Link Tangent, space cartographer, enjoying my Cynthia log here in space year 4.5. Fun Mastchris fact. Corn went extinct in the 39th century BSY, that's before his space years, so now our Mastchris logs are made out of a processed and flavored mush, consisting mostly of widely available pubic fungus. Jolly Mastchris, everyone! Hello all, this is Dr. Douglas Dawkin from way back in episode 1. Looking forward to Mastchris. I've got my hot cocoa and my demon elf sweater on, and Mum's just bringing in the Mastchris tree from the pine forest now.
Douglas, help me with this massive bastard!
In a moment, Mum. Anyway, jolly Mastchris, and hope you're all taking very good care of your eyes. Hello, it's Marco Deponi here. Is this the number for call when you are worried what is wrong with your balls?
Jolly Mastchris, true believers.
Hi Tom, it's TV's Rachel Paris. Hope you have a really jolly Mastchris and no one that you know is killed in the night by pirates. Okay, bye.
Ho, ho, ho! It's Mr. Christmas calling. Just ringing to say that Captain Mastchris and all his demon elves and the entire holiday of Mastchris can get to
Jolly Mastchris, everyone, and a happy latter half of the year. Everything you've just heard was made by me, Tom Crowley. Special thanks to Rachel Paris. If you're celebrating on the 25th of June this year, why not post a photo of the festivities on social media with the hashtag Mastchris, or email crowleytimepodcast@gmail.com to let me know how you celebrated. If you'd like an exclusive digital Mastchris greetings card /guide, then go to patreon.com/crowleytime and sign up as a supporter of this show today.